Hello and welcome to the Sports Box. And today we're going to discuss football again. It's been a while since we've discussed football, and we thought, what better it could be than talk about the Premier League. And the topic that we're going to discuss today is going to be the top five managers in the Premier League this season. No, obviously, this has no predicament or no judgment on how good these managers have been overall or during their entire career, but basically we're just sort of trying to understand that which are the managers who've outperformed the squad they had, their previous performances, or maybe the expectations in general of the fans, the pundits, and everyone who follows football. So it's going to be a very interesting topic. So let's just jump into it, Puneet. Again, starting with the first one now, this again is. I am confused personally. I would love to know your opinion. I'm confused between Chris Wilder and Jürgen Klopp. Jürgen Klopp, obviously, I personally expected him, and most people expected him to finish second because Man City was considered to be the favorites again. Even after last time Liverpool played their hearts out, they weren't able to win the league. So I thought they should have finished. I expected them to finish second, but they, won the league hands down. So I think that Jürgen Klopp definitely deserves a shout. But according to me, which I'm slightly favoring this guy a little more than Klopp, is Chris Wilder for Sheffield, because I probably expected Sheffield to end up in the relegation zone, and now they're eighth. They're in the top half, so it's absolutely unbelievable stuff. They've played against some of the best teams and gotten results, and and they got recently absolutely thrashed Chelsea 3-0, and they thrashed Tottenham 3-1, and they've had a lot of good results over the season. So what would your first pick be? Because it's a little confusing for me. So let us just decide mutually who ends up on the list.
I think you have to, I genuinely admire Chris Wilder a lot, and I was speaking to some Sheffield fan online as well, and he's got them through the leagues, and no doubt about it. I think he is someone who's going to be who will attain legendary status if they actually manage to qualify for Europe, even Europa, and uh, and they should sort of. I mean, the kind of football he's played. Uh, Unfortunately, I think the pressure which Klopp has sort of taken off, and the expectations that everyone had of 30 years from Liverpool, I think that is why he just sneaks into the top two for me,
Mm-hmm.
personally, because I feel his record and the way he has built his team, you have to give that credit. With and we were discussing this in one of our earlier videos as well, that the way he and the way he has sort of sat down with the Liverpool management and the board, and right from the time when he's come 2016, and he's built the team up, and he has made them one of the best in Europe currently, if not the best, year after year, and a massive credit to him, and massive credit to the Liverpool management for backing him. And I think that is what the difference. That is a difference which we can see already. In terms of how Chelsea, United, Arsenal are sort of wavering in their form because of constant management change, and not being able to follow a philosophy per se. Like while you can see the difference right now in Lampard and Ole. Ole is, and that's what I think even Arsenal is trying to emulate. Uh, how to back a philosophy and back a manager, which actually Liverpool have already formed a blueprint of, and even before them, Pep already did. So Klopp for me, I'm sure Chris Wilder is very very close second because of the quality of what he has and the way he has managed a chance of qualifying for Europe.
Yeah, fair enough. Because even I personally think that it is very tight for me. The only
Yeah.
reason I probably would pick Wilder just marginally above him, because the fact that I didn't expect anything from him, because when it came to Klopp, I think he already was going to win the title. But another thing in Klopp's favor is the fact that he didn't spend anything this season. So he may have got like that. He may have spent more than 200 million pounds on the likes of Van Dijk, Fabinho, Chiesa, and all the players that he bought in those 2 windows. But if you look at it, he hasn't bought any player in the summer and just bought Minamino at a very, you know, at a cut price deal this season. So I think you have to give credit to Klopp, and I think I would rather I would second you on that. In spite, I personally think that Wilder should finish on the first because of the lack of resources. Liverpool do have, I think, one of the best teams in the league. Apart from the fact that they haven't won the title for 30 years, but again, not buying this season when all your competitors were, and I think that was a very good uh, season for Liverpool. I don't think they could have imagined a better season, and they never imagined that City would fall off the pace so much as well, because I think a lot of credit also goes to Man City for absolutely bottling so many games this season. The difference on
It's
paper,
eight or 9 losses, right?
yeah, 9 losses is crazy, and
Yeah.
on paper it may look sort of a little easy. That it's a 20-point margin, but if you look at the class in teams, I don't think there is a lot of difference. So I think then we'll settle with this. We'll have Klopp at number one,
And
and
also, I think one more point on Klopp. I think credit where credit's due. They've actually done very well to come up when they were, they lost by a point last year. I think that's a massive credit again to Klopp and his team, because when you're second and when you've lost by such a small margin, um, it's not that it's not easy, but it's easy to drop shoulders and feel that you could have won last year, but they kept going, and they could only you could only beat the opponent that's in front of you, like they say, right? So they did their best, and they did not sort of wait for any team to fall, and they were like miles ahead by the time the project restart started. So that's credit to Klopp again.
fair enough. So let's just move on to the third. I think the first and second are decided. I think Chris Wilder again deserves a lot of credit with the minimal resources and the kind of players that he has. The way he's performing has been absolutely tremendous, and a lot of credit goes to him, and the fact that he's sustained this till the end of the season, because a lot of time what happens is that new teams comes into the Premier League and they're doing very well in the first half of the season, but they generally fall off pace in the second season. But that hasn't happened with him. So I think Chris Wilder and Klopp definitely have been one of the most consistent managers when it comes to the Premier League this season, and I think that they deserve that spot. Also,
A
yeah,
beautiful story of Wilder is that he has he's a thorough blade, right? Like
yeah,
he's born in Sheffield, was a ball boy at Bramall Lane. So all these things, I think it's quite a there's quite a romantic twist to his entire journey as a manager. And I'm a big fan. And we saw it. We've seen them playing against the biggest teams in the country, and the way they set up and the way they threaten almost every team. I think they have played very well against City as well, and against Liverpool too. They were unlucky with Henderson's mistake.
yeah.
That's how good they've been, and extremely impressed. I don't know the month or the year per se, but I think he was awarded the Premier League's manager of some, I don't know, association's manager of the year last year, I think, ahead of Klopp and Pep Guardiola, which is a massive credit to him, and it shows what kind of what kind of aura he has developed, and what respect he gets from the rest of the managers.
No, obviously the kind of job he's done is phenomenal. Now, again, I would want your call on the third, because I'm pretty confused. There are a few options that come into my mind. There is obviously Ralph Hasenhüttl, who really did a very good job bouncing back from that 9-0 defeat to Leicester City, because I think that was one of the most embarrassing. I don't remember the last time a Premier League team won 9-0, or a team lost 9-0 for that matter. Because I remember in the 9-10 season, Chelsea won a couple of games 8-0, but I
Uh,
simply can't remember.
Under Ancelotti, right?
Huh?
Under Ancelotti, right?
Yeah, under Ancelotti, we did
Uh,
win a game 7-1 and then, 8-0 on the final day of the season. But I still can't figure out the last time, probably it's faded out of my memory. The last time a team won 8-0, I mean, that's crazy. So, obviously, coming back, losing 9-0 and then coming back from it and then they've defeated Chelsea this season, they defeated City this season, they drew at Manchester United, and they've been really good overall, man. I think he's building a team that could probably challenge for the top six, maybe not for the top four next season, but definitely for the top six, a kind of team which could be level with the likes of Wolves, who are really consistent. And the only difference is that they play a very different kind of football. It's highly possession-based football. I was watching the game against United, and I realized that they were not once did they go for a counter attack. Their philosophy was to hold the ball, probably pass out from the back, and then slowly build an attack and then score, which was crazy for a team which has sort of limited resources going up against one of the best informed current attacks in the game. And again, another Nuno Espírito and Frank Lampard are two other guys that come to my mind, because being a Chelsea fan, I'm a little on the defensive, but I never really thought that Chelsea will, be third in the table with 2 games to go. Obviously, we could still not end up in the top four considering how close it is. But the very fact that he's got us still here is something which is phenomenal, because he didn't have a single player that he could bring in. He didn't have. He could bring in players in the January window, but he wasn't able to. He signed 2 players, but they weren't available for this season, so they'll be there from next season. So I think with the no one wanted the Chelsea job. Another thing was that even Sarri didn't want to continue with Chelsea. It's not that Chelsea sacked him or something. Juventus quoted him and he decided to leave Chelsea because he didn't want to be at a Chelsea team which is losing their best player, and they have only a few youth players, people who played in the Champions League, to sort of replace him. So I think that again is phenomenal in itself. And again, I didn't expect him as well to not only be as good as what he was last season, but be better, because he's in the 6th position this time and he's like 1 point ahead of Spurs. It could all go haywire again for him. But if you look at how he's played and the way he's set up his teams and managing the Europa League alongside it with that limited squad, I think these three are the ones which come to my mind. Who do you think would sort of fit in on that third position?
I think because of the position, I think I will give it to Lampard. And again, I'm a little skeptical of. I'm not skeptical, but a little inclined towards the position a club gets, right? Because I don't think so. Lampard had his set of players. I can't say the best players, but at least his kind of players when he came to the job. Chelsea had a transfer ban, and even I personally did not think that they would be top 4 contenders. Because everyone was expecting Spurs, by the way. Remember, so Spurs had a terrific Champions League season, and Manchester United and Arsenal and Wolves themselves. Everyone knew that these are going to be the sides which are going to, and even Leicester for that matter. Like, you would have expected Chelsea a top 6, top 4, which I do think they will get. I still think Chelsea and United might sneak into the top 4 ahead of Leicester, but. Hence, for that reason, for that kind of an overachievement, because to me, I see it like this: but the gap between the 6th and the 4th position is very, very tight, and to be able to hang on to the 4th or the 3rd spot is a massive credit to Lampard. Plus, he's done it while playing very good quality and style of football. So Chelsea does play a certain with a certain kind of pressing, with a certain kind of movement in terms of Villan and Pulisic assisting either Giroud or Abraham, and the three midfielders being able to Kovacic carrying the ball, Kante sitting deep, and Barkley or Mount being able to connect with the forwards. The only thing is the defense, which is a bit of a challenge right now, which he will sort out, I think, in a year or so, which every team would be able to. And y'all have already again done terrific business in terms of Ziyech and Werner coming in. So for all these reasons, my third number goes to Lampard again. Big fan of Ralph Hasenhüttl, man. I mean, not only the 9-0, but the way he has entirely changed Southampton's playing style. Look at the way they press. I mean, that is just extremely impressive with the squad again they have, right from Ings to Redmond to Armstrong to Romeo that day to Højbjerg who's leaving this season, and I think he's gotten a couple of other players as well who have done really well
The defense,
in
for
his
that
squad.
matter, Stevens and Bednarek, they've been really good. From conceding 9 goals to having a solid defense. I think that is also a foundation on which he's built. Because I remember that game against City, they were tremendous in defense. It was sort of like Arsenal the last night, where they were, sort of, blocking anything that came their way. So I think that a lot of credit goes to Hasenhüttl, but I do personally agree, and there's a little bit of bias involved in that. I would think that Frank Lampard definitely has to be in the top 3 with respect to the conditions that he was in, because there have been other managers who have been in better situations but have not sort of performed. I expected Manchester United to be an easy top 4 candidate, but they sort of struggled towards in the initial part of the season, especially in that middle period where they didn't have any creativity. Then Bruno Fernandes came in, and then he sort of sparked the change in the team. But I think that Ole still needs to. I think since the lockdown got over and the Premier League resumed, he's been really good. But I still think that he needs to, up his game a couple of notches with the squad that he has, because I would expect another manager with the same squad, at least till January, to be in a better position than Ole, or else Ole would have been on the list as well, because he's been really good, and it's very easy to be sort of flattered by the current run that they are on. But we have to judge a team on the entire season the way it's gone by. And there I think he loses out. And I think Frank Lampard wins third spot. So again, now we're down. I think we've sort of finalized the 4th and 5th position. Irrespective of the position, we know that the managers, I think, personally, I would suggest a Nuno or a Hasenhüttl has to be on that 4th position, and the other person would take the other spot left, because I can't think of 2 other managers who would finish in that top 5. We did consider Steve Bruce as well, because honestly, I thought that Newcastle were favourites to get relegated, and they've got like horrible ownership. The way they've been backed is crazy. There's been no backing at all for the past how many seasons. And he was replacing Rafa Benitez, who's won a Champions League. He's won the league with Valencia. So he is a top manager, and replacing him, they're currently on the 13th spot in the league. So again, he gets a massive shout out, but I don't think he'll make the list. So again, Puneet, who do you think is 4th on the list?
I just one more manager to add. I think Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche apps. I mean, they year in year out, you expect them to be poor. You expect them to have a relegation battle. They are safe with 4-5 games to go. I think they we were discussing they are in the top half of the table. I mean, tremendous. If I'm not wrong, they started the season in Europe, and they obviously went out. They started playing badly. I think by Christmas they were again below 15th.
Yep.
And then again, they have now just jumped up. A very big mention to Sean Dyche as well. Coming back to number 4, I think Hasenhüttl by a long margin. Not because anything against Wolves, but I think Wolves now you're started expecting them to do well. And like I said, to me, even before the season started, I was expecting Wolves to be at least in the top 6, top 7, and challenge for Europa again. So I mean, again, massive credit to Nuno. The same squad, he literally plays the same formation, same squad in Europe, in Premier League. I was reading a stat that if they actually end up coming to the finals of the Europa, they would have played 60 plus matches in this season, which is like
It's a crazy
highest
number.
amount.
I remember
Yeah,
Chelsea playing so many last season.
exactly. And look at the squad quality, man. Like you barely know anyone apart from like say a Neves or Jimenez, at least before they came in
Yeah.
into the Premier League. So top mention to Nuno Espírito. Hasenhüttl only because Southampton. Uh, you see squad quality, right? You see squad quality vis-a-vis their position, vis-a-vis the quality of the manager. You have to give. Hasenhüttl is called the Austrian Klopp, by the way. So he's very highly regarded. I think he was a Leipzig manager, which came
Yep.
the team which came into second in the German Bundesliga. So
Correct.
he has developed a very strong name for himself before he came into the Premier League. But to take a team of Southampton's quality and produce the results that he's doing, I think that is why number 4 definitely. And Nuno, like we both have been discussing, he is someone who's here to stay, man. I think every single season, I think that is something which he deserves a massive credit for, isn't it? Like, next season as well, Wolves definitely would be in top 6. Like, how sure are you of
And
all the other managers? Like, that's how good he is. That's how stable he has made them. That that Wolves are 100% going to compete for the top 6 and they're not a flash in the pan. They've done it once. They'll do it again. They've performed well in Europe again. And it is not that they've gone out of their first stage, second stage, anything. They've actually done well.
no, but do you remember? Actually, we have to mention this if we're mentioning Nuno, because I remember he was in the relegation zone for like the first 7-8 games.
Yeah.
Because he was finding it difficult to sort of oscillate between Champions League,
Yeah.
the Europa League and Premier League. And I remember Chelsea went there and smashed them 5-2. And Tammy Abraham got a hat trick at Molineux, because that was a pretty. I thought that they wouldn't recreate and the same results that they did in the first season, and I thought they'll have a classic second season syndrome that is so common amongst the championship clubs that get promoted. They do well for a season and then they sort of fall off the pace. But I think he's been tremendous, and I don't really think that we've actually very quickly been accustomed to a very high level from Nuno. That
so
also speaks volume, because we didn't expect Hasenhüttl to do this well. To be very honest, he was in charge of the team for the first half as well, and they were pretty poor, but he has turned them around, which is again crazy. And if you look at the quality of players he has, of course, apart from Danny Ings, Nathan Redmond, probably an Oriol Romeo who's like a good holding midfielder. They don't have a lot of quality. Ryan Bertrand maybe, but the other players are bang average, and they are they probably are. A lot of them maybe they may have 3-4 players who are probably just championship level and are playing in the Premier League. So this reminds me of the time that Pochettino had at Southampton, because he did a really good job there, and I can probably in the next 2 years see Hasenhüttl managing a big club, like a traditional top 6, because I don't know who's top 6 anymore with Arsenal and Tottenham in mid-table mediocrity. Chelsea, Man United have fallen off the pace, and Leicester surprisingly has creeped in because of Brendan Rodgers. And again, Brendan Rodgers also deserves a shout out. The only reason that he hasn't been able to make the list is because he did fall off the pace massively in the last 10 game weeks. I think there was a point of time where he was challenging Man City for the second spot. So it seems like yesterday that Leicester were right on top, and then they had like a 7-8 point lead when the restart began over Chelsea and Manchester United, but they bottled it.
14 points for United, I remember,
Yeah, and sort of 7-8 points over Chelsea. So they've been pretty poor in this restart. They were lucky enough to sort of. I don't think lucky enough. They were good today, and they have won over Sheffield, and Sheffield were pretty poor today, so that gave them a slight edge. But I think that again, talking about all these managers, we just forget that we must put Hasenhüttl and Nuno on the list. And the very fact that we've spoken about so many managers makes me wonder that the quality of managers in the Premier League has gone up by a big margin. I remember there were only 4-5 good managers 10 years back in the Premier League, not even that. But today, if you look at it, there are top quality managers. You look at an Ancelotti who's in charge of Everton right now, and they're big names. They won everything there is to win, 3 Champions Leagues. I mean, what are you talking about? And such a manager managing a mid-table team is like something which is, an indicator of how big the Premier League has become. So, Puneet, anything else you would like to add? Because just to sum up our top 5, it's Klopp at number 1, Chris Wilder at number 2. We have Frank Lampard at number 3, Ralph Hasenhüttl at number 4, and Nuno Espírito at number 5. Anything else, Puneet?
Absolutely. That's it. I think you summed up very well. The point the point that you're making about the level of Premier League gone up, I think it's going to be even better, and you can see that with the likes of Southampton beating City, with the likes of Leicester playing at the level where they are. I expect big things from Everton next season because of Ancelotti. Ancelotti would have then would be able to sort of have a team where he has had an effect on. Massive. I think a lot to be expected, and very big credit to the likes of Nuno, Hasenhüttl, and Lampard, and even Chris Wilder. I mean, I never again. I don't think so ever. We are going to talk about Sheffield at this length with the level and the way they have played. It's going to be a heck of a season next season as well, and let's hope for even better games.
Sure. So thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. We would like to conclude with this, and do subscribe to the Sports Box. We've been following a lot of football, so we've been a little irregular with the updates, but we'll try to post something almost every day as much as possible. And also, if you like the video, please click on the like button. And thank you so much for watching the Sports Box.
Thank you. Have a good day.